Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm very happy to welcome Father Charles Mbwana back to our parish. And together, Father Charles and I would like to give you an update on the Home of the Holy Angels and the new Saints William and Helen Catholic Secondary and Vocational School, and to ask for your help in funding some really important needs that we have. Now, I know that many of you already know the story about how the Home of the Holy Angels came to be, but for those who don't, we'd like to go ahead and take a minute to share that story with you now.
Thanks very much, Deacon Dave. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy again to be with you. Some of you remember me as the Black Irish. Father Walsh, the White Irish, now is not around, but that was the name he gave me. So I'm happy to be with you, and it all began with a little boy named Joseph. I returned home every year to visit my mother in the Kibale province of Uganda, which is a very remote part in the western part of the country. On one visit in 2007, Joseph, who was by then 4 years old, he was orphaned and living alone on the streets, came to me and took my hand and said, "Father, I am hungry. Can you help me?"
So Father took him to his friend at one of the local parishes who fed him, but the church wasn't equipped to care for Joseph or any of the children long term. And it's at that very moment that Father Charles realized that God was calling him to do something about these homeless children who'd been orphaned due to the rampant AIDS epidemic that was running through the country. The Home of the Holy Angels is the result. So returning home to the U.S., Father Charles met with Father Walsh and several of you parishioners here at St. Margaret Mary to ask for help in developing a plan to found a year-round boarding school in his home district of Kibale. The Kibale Uganda Development Union was established to help make God's call to Father Charles a concrete reality. In 2010, just 3 years after encountering Joseph on the street, Father Charles was able to bring him and 24 other children to their new home, where they were provided with a safe environment to live and to grow and to receive an education that would allow them to get on the path to independence.
Since that day, in 2010, it was you, the parishioners here at St. Margaret Mary, who have been very faithful friends of the children at the Home of the Holy Angels. For that, I thank you very much. Your commitment towards these children and your faithful stewardship of the gifts that God has given you has directly impacted and improved the lives of so many children as they have moved on to the path of independence.
So the Gospel of Matthew tells us a story of Peter stepping out in faith to reach out to Jesus. He said, "At once Jesus spoke to them, 'Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid.' And Peter said to him in reply, 'Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water.' And he said, 'Come.' And Peter got out of that boat and began to walk on the water towards Jesus."
Just like he did to Peter, Jesus is telling us not to be afraid. He's calling each one of us to come and step out of our safety of our boats and reach out to him in the tumult of the storm in the world, the storm among the children, to reach out to those who are in need, especially the children at the schools in Uganda. He's inviting us to keep our eyes focused on him, whom we see in the faces of these beautiful children. He's inviting us to feed and to care for them, just as he did the crowds in today's gospel, and not to lose our faith.
In 2022, thanks to the generosity of people like you, whom God called to share in Father Charles' ministry to these orphan children of Uganda, the Saints William and Helen Catholic Secondary and Vocational School was opened, and it currently has 150 students in grades S1 through S3. But eventually, within 5 years, we anticipate having about 400 students in grades, all 6 grades, S1 through S6. So now the children who have completed primary school at the Home of the Holy Angels will be able to continue their path to independence on the same campus at the school, the secondary school, in the same loving and caring, nurturing, and spiritually strong environment that you, the Christian St. Margaret Mary, have helped provide for these last 13 years.
Recently, the government of Uganda has made it a requirement that all boarding schools, especially including ours, should provide a vocational education, to provide skills. So as a result, we have put on programs, agricultural education in the curriculum. We have also provided some other vocational training in areas like IT, carpentry, accounting, construction. You can come and construct here some houses, banking, brick making, sewing, and many others. So by learning these skills, the children will be able to work and to care for themselves, to avoid the dangers faced by the children who don't have the opportunity provided by our schools.
So God's truly blessed Father Charles' ministry and the children who are in his care. However, we do have some serious needs that we're hoping that you can help us with. So although the secondary school building itself has been completed, there's more to do. We need computers as well as equipment and tools and chemicals for the science labs and for the vocational courses. But we also need a kitchen and a dining hall for the secondary school students in addition to the dormitories. Right now, meals are actually being prepared in a corrugated iron hut that's got 2 fire pits in the ground. And the meals themselves are eaten outside. We also need to complete building dormitories for the kids in the secondary school. This past year, the kids have actually been living in the classrooms. So we had S1 through S3 on the first floor and the kids actually residing on the second floor. However, now that we're filling more classes, next year will be S4, we need to move the kids into proper dormitories. For less than the cost of a single 3-2 ranch home in Maitland, about $400,000 or so, we're going to be able to build 2 dormitories, boys and girls, to house 600 students. And these dollars would actually allow us to complete the girls' dorm, which we've started, and to begin construction on the boys' dorm.
Finally, as I mentioned earlier, the Uganda government is requiring us to expand our vocational programs. To comply with this government mandate, we will also need to purchase equipment materials which are necessary to provide the children, once they have completed their education, with the skills which will allow them to become fully independent and can care for themselves. So you, the parishioners of St. Margaret Mary, for whom I am very grateful, have always been partners with us in all these 13 years we have been together, carrying God's mission to care for his orphaned children in Chivale, in Uganda. So please prayerfully consider continuing your support for these God's beautiful children by helping to fund the great needs that we currently have.
So please consider helping to fund our kitchen and our dining room or our dormitories, which are going to provide, safe housing. Or consider helping to fund, some of the materials and supplies that we need for the secondary school itself and for the vocational education programs. The needs are many. I mean, there's so much more than we mentioned. But, you've always participated. You, as people of St. Margaret Mary, have always participated in this ministry. And you've always enabled so many children to grow towards independence. Children like Joseph, who, believe it or not, is nearing 20 years old. And he's now going to be able to go into adulthood better prepared to care for himself.
So in addition to his miracles, Jesus, before his ascension, he told us, whatever you do to the least of these among you, you do that for me. So whatever we are able to give today in the special collection, know that it is Jesus you are helping It is Jesus you are touching.
So if you're writing a check today, please make it out to St. Margaret Mary, and in the memo line, put in HOHA, or even Uganda. If you didn't bring your checkbook today, it's okay. You can still go ahead and write a check and drop it off at the parish office. Do the same thing with the memo line. Or you can even go to our website and donate through there. We've got more information with the URL at the back of the church. And there's baskets where if you did want to make a donation today, you can just drop it off in the basket. Whatever you can do, the children know this. They pray for you every day, and they're eternally grateful for all your help. So thank you.
And may God bless you always.